Well, Pat Krall was unreal again for us. I think in his last 16 innings, I think he's given up 1 run. So, you know, to win in rubber matches against Florida State and NC State, you know, he's just been unreal. He deserves a tremendous amount of credit for us winning the ball game today because I thought Ryan Williamson was just as good. He was really tough on us, and you know, if it wasn't for the miscue on the steal where they threw the ball in the outfield, you know, we may not have scored there until the end. But you know, I give our guys a lot of credit. How about the at bat by Chase Pender in the 9th there? 2 strikes against a guy throwing in the mid-90s to get a leadoff hit right there, and then we executed, which was really fun to watch in a very tight situation. Eli White got the bunt down, and then you know, they did what you know any of us would do, and they walked Seth. Walt Oak, and then you know, we were very fortunate. You know, Wes's ball just hopped up on the shortstop, you know, right there at the last second, and we won it. So just a great win for our guys. Couldn't be happier for them, and you know, ready to enjoy the day off tomorrow after such an exciting win.
Coach, it's been a while since you got a real pitcher's duel. How nice is it to be able to see that you can win a game with solid pitching and defense?
Well, that's obviously where we want to get to. You know, we want to get to the point where, you know, we can run a pitcher out there and a defense out there that'll keep us in every single ball game, because as you know, in the ACC, you're going to face high quality arms, and their starting pitching was really good. Their guy today was, you know, I thought stuff-wise their best guy of the weekend. So we needed somebody who could match up with him and give us a chance, and Pat Krall did that. You know, he's one of the best pitchers in the country for a reason.
20 runs yesterday, 1 run today. Is this the best example you can think of the highs and lows of baseball?
Well, as I've often said, you know, the momentum of a baseball game is all started on the mound, and it's pretty obvious that that's true today. You look at what they did on the mound today and look what we did on the mound today. As many runs as were scored yesterday, there were a lot of runs scored in Game 1, but it all starts with a guy on the mound, and you know, Ryan Williamson, give him a lot of credit, and Pat Krall, got to give him credit. You know, they kept both offenses at bay, and you know, that's just, you know, again, the whole game is dictated by what happens on the mound for the most part. If you run into a guy that's got all his pitches going, has got good stuff going, he's going to make it tough on you. So that momentum was created for our team today by Pat Krall.
Saw you having a discussion with Wes during that pitching change. Was there any consideration to a potential squeeze play, or what were you talking about with him there? It's
funny. We actually, Buck and I did talk about it. We said, hey, what do you think about a safety squeeze here? But we didn't, you know, in the back of your mind, you always think that. But on the other side, you know, we felt like Wes was ready for that at bat. So we were going to let him hit right there. So no, you know, you always think about it as a manager and as a coach, but at the end of the day, anytime I question whether I should do something or not, I let him hit.
Can you talk about Chris Oakey's at bat too in that night, because you know they did the intentional walk to get to him, and that turned out to be a huge play, obviously.
Well, it's a huge play because if he's not disciplined right there and he comes out of the strike zone, we don't get, you know, the sac fly sitting at third base, or, you know, a ground ball, you know, that can score that winning run. So yeah, there's absolutely, the difference is you got to get a base hit right there to win the ball game, as opposed to a sac fly or a ground ball where they got to turn 2. So it was huge for us, that at bat. And look, you know, Chris Oakey has turned into an extremely disciplined hitter. If you look at his numbers, his on base percentage, his walks, he does an unreal job for us of getting on base. So he is a true professional hitter right now.
Back-to-back series win over 2 of the better teams in this conference. Pat Krall and their starting rotation. You feel like things are now coming together a little bit. You kind of gotten over some of those rough spots.
Yes, I think so. I mean, again, you know, just look. I mean, you know, yesterday we got beat very soundly, but our guys, they let that game go. They knew what was at stake. And, you know, and the bottom line is we won the series. You know, we found a way to win the series. So I think it just says a lot about our team. Our team's going to compete. They're going to show up ready to go every single day. And, you know, it's just a matter of us putting ourselves in a position to be successful. And, you know, we got 2 great starts this weekend. You know, we know that Game 2 we didn't get a good start, but in 2 of those 3 games, we got great starting pitching, and you know, that was the difference.
Going forward with Pat, do you reserve him for Sunday starter, or do you play it by ear and see how the series goes and whether you need him on Friday or Saturday out of the pen?
I tell you, you know, obviously this is the biggest question that anybody's going to ask me, and you know, we're going to try to use him to win series because it's really hard heck, I'm telling you, last night I'm kicking myself for not starting him in game 2, because we talked about it. But we felt like when we won game 1, we could use him to close out game 2 if we needed to win the series. We could use our best reliever at the back end of that game with a lead, whether it was go to him in the 5th with a lead, the 6th, the 7th, whatever the case may be. We felt like that was the right decision to make. Now, I'm kicking myself because I'm always going to be accountable. I'm kicking myself for not starting him yesterday because we did discuss it. But we're going to use him to win series. So, if you win game 1, and if you look at it, we stretched him out against Florida State on Monday. So really the ideal time to start him would have been Sunday. Because I can tell you this, you can hurt a pitcher if you bump him up 2 days. If you go from Monday to Saturday on 4 days rest, you can hurt a guy, especially if he's stretched out past 50, 60 pitches. So this gave him a 5th day of rest, which we felt like was ideal if we were going to start him. And then now we have the opportunity to bump him up. If we decide to bump him up going into next weekend, we can start him on Saturday. And if we decide we want to bump into Friday or leave it just like that, we can leave it just like that. So it gives us that option. So the bottom line is we want to use him to win series, and he does that as good as anybody.
The postseason picture's beginning to take shape. The way that you guys have played at home, and particularly played at home against ranked teams, would it mean a lot to finish with a flurry and try to get into the top 16 mix, try to host the region?
Obviously we'd love to host. There's no question about it, but that's really beyond our control outside of the next game. We can't look too far ahead and start talking about how we want to finish the season. The big thing for us is play consistent baseball, and we got to play consistent baseball. We've got a tough week coming up where we play back-to-back midweek games, and we've stretched some arms out here. So it's going to press us in the middle of the week, against a good club, to try to find a way to put together quality innings on the mound where guys can be stretched out and give us something in the middle of the week. But again, we're at home. We're at home for these 2 in the middle of the week, and then we got to go on the road, and we need to play well on the road. That's another thing too. Is just looking at this week in particular. We're going to be challenged because we've got back-to-back midweek games, and that's going to stretch a pitching staff out as always. And then we got to go on the road, and we need to play well on the road. So, to me, it's not so much about looking, over the next however many games we've got left. I think it's 9 games left. It's more about, what do we do in the middle of the week leading into the weekend? This week, what do we do? And we've had another good week. We've had back-to-back pretty good weeks, and hopefully we can carry some confidence and some momentum going into the midweeks.
Any idea what you'll do Tuesday, Wednesday on the mound?
No clue. Not right now. I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I'm going to enjoy this one, and I'm sure Coach C and Bradley and Buck and I and Copp, we'll all talk about it here in a little bit and just try to figure out what we think. I've got some ideas. I don't like to think too far ahead. As a baseball coach, I think you can, you don't want to go against the baseball gods and start thinking ahead. You just worry about today. But I've got some ideas. This is kind of what I'd like to do at least in game 1 of this week. But we just need to talk it over as a staff, figure out who gives us the best chance to give us a good start.
That being said, you don't have an ACC series next week. How does that kind of mess up the momentum of what's going on with this team?
Actually, I like it. I like it, and I'll tell you why. Because you can try some things. We can try some things. We can take a guy and maybe pitch him in a different role, or try some things from a starting pitching standpoint, or a bullpen standpoint, lineup standpoint, whatever we want to do. It gives us the option, honestly, to say, okay, if we're going to try something, this would be a good week to do it. If we want to try somebody in a starting role, or out of the bullpen from a pitching standpoint, I think lineup-wise, we pretty much have an idea of what we want to do versus a righty versus a lefty. But it gives us a chance to try some different things and be very aggressive with some of the moves that we make, leading into that last ACC series.
Speaking of this upcoming midweek series, you got College of Charleston. How emotional is that going to be for you, or have you even had time to think about it?
I've had time to think about it, and the bottom line is whether it's kids that I coached as an assistant, kids that I've coached as a head coach, I love them all, and that's not going to change just because we're playing the College of Charleston. Those kids that are on the team at the College of Charleston, a lot of them I coached or recruited or was a part of recruiting. I love those kids. I love that program, and I love the coaches. 2 of the coaches that are there played for me, and the head coach and he's my best friend. One of my best friends off the field and in the game. So, it's going to be it's going to be a little different, you know, because of the relationship I have with those kids. But I promise you this: when that game starts, we're going to do everything we can to beat them, and they're going to do everything that they can do to beat us, because this is my team. You know, Clemson is where I'm at. This is my team. These are my players, and we're going to do everything we can to beat them, and they're going to do the same thing to us. But, you know, before the game or after the game, I'm sure I'd like to say hello to some of those kids. They, you know, they mean a lot to me, and, you know, I'll always have those relationships, just like I would with any kid that I've coached.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.